Camille Turner stepped through the sleek glass doors of Monarch Realty, her hood pulled slightly forward as cold Atlanta air trailed behind her. The waiting lounge gleamed with white marble and gold accents, humming with the low murmur of wealth. She paused briefly, taking in the immaculate surroundings, then moved toward the front desk where a tall woman with rigid posture typed quickly on her keyboard. The receptionist glanced up, barely hiding her distaste. "Can I help you?" she asked, tone flat. Camille offered a polite nod. "I'm here to speak with someone about commercial properties. I have a 10 a.m. appointment." The receptionist's eyes scanned Camille's hoodie, plain jeans, and sneakers. "I think you might be in the wrong place. We don't offer rentals or walk-ins," she replied, her voice now more curt. Camille calmly repeated, "I have an appointment. The name's Camille Turner." The woman clicked around on her screen, but didn't bother checking thoroughly. "Right. I'm not seeing that name. You should probably wait outside until someone can assist you, if they can." From a side door, a young agent named Trevor leaned in and chuckled under his breath. "Sales floor doesn't open to the public, ma'am. You might want to try one of the offices across town." Camille simply gave a soft smile, pulled out her phone, and sent a message. She took a seat in the waiting lounge without another word, resting her hands on her lap, still composed. Trevor turned to Haley, the receptionist, whispering loud enough for her to hear. "Bet she's here to hand out flyers or ask for help. Doesn't look like someone shopping for properties. Not here, anyway." Haley laughed, covering her mouth with a manicured hand. "You'd think people would at least dress the part." 10 minutes passed. Camille sat quietly while agents in tailored suits buzzed around, avoiding eye contact. She didn't flinch, didn't fidget. Instead, she watched them all, memorizing faces, noting their expressions. A stylish white couple walked in, he in a navy blazer, she in heels clicking across the floor. The transformation was immediate. Haley stood up straighter, beamed a smile, and offered them espresso. Trevor personally escorted them to the conference room with the glass wall that overlooked the skyline. "They'll show you the penthouses and retail spaces available," Trevor said proudly. "You're going to love what we have lined up." Camille glanced toward the glass and locked eyes with the man sipping coffee across the room. His smile faltered. His face paled. It was Douglas Langford, senior partner and co-founder of Monarch Realty. He rose so quickly he nearly knocked over his mug. "Ms. Turner!" he exclaimed, rushing through the door. "I had no idea you were already here. I am so sorry." The entire floor froze. Trevor blinked. Haley turned pale. Camille stood slowly, offering a handshake. "I didn't want to interrupt," she said evenly. "Didn't seem like anyone was ready." Langford looked around, face tight. "I assure you, this is not how we treat our clients." Camille raised an eyebrow. "Good, because I'm not just any client." Langford nodded, understanding the weight behind her calm words. "Let me take you upstairs. Your team's waiting." As she followed him to the private elevator, Trevor and Haley remained frozen behind the reception desk. Neither spoke. Neither moved. Camille didn't glance back. She didn't need to. The silence spoke volumes. The elevator doors slid open, to reveal a luxurious private suite adorned with modern art, velvet chairs, and an uninterrupted view of Atlanta's skyline. Camille stepped out without hesitation, her calm stride commanding the attention of 3 sharply dressed executives already gathered around a glass conference table. "Gentlemen," Langford said, motioning toward her with quiet reverence, "this is Camille Turner, the investor leading the East Side redevelopment project." Each man stood instantly, extending hands and offering apologies for not meeting her at the entrance. Camille accepted their greetings with grace, her expression unreadable. She sat at the head of the table, placing her leather-bound tablet down. without a sound. One of the partners, a silver-haired man named Harris Quinn, leaned forward. "We've reviewed the initial zoning maps and are prepared to begin the land transfer paperwork once you've approved the changes." Camille nodded. "We'll walk through the figures shortly. First, I'd like to address something that occurred downstairs." The room fell silent, tension rippling like a wave. Langford adjusted his tie, his jaw clenched. "I was informed the front desk mishandled your arrival. Please believe me when I say it doesn't reflect the values of this firm." Camille didn't raise her voice. Her tone remained even, measured, but each word struck with precision. "It wasn't a mishandling," she said. "It was profiling. Assumptions were made, words were spoken, and had my name not held weight, I would have been shown the door." No one spoke. Even the air conditioning seemed to hush. "I didn't walk in asking for special treatment," she continued. "I expected professionalism, or at the very least, basic courtesy. What I received was contempt, veiled behind fake smiles." Langford's voice lowered, almost ashamed. "I'd take full responsibility. They had no idea who you were, and clearly, that shouldn't matter. I'll handle it personally." Camille looked out the window for a moment, watching the cars below weave between lanes. That's the problem, isn't it? It always takes someone being someone for respect to be given. Imagine how many others walked through those doors and left humiliated, never being given the chance I had. One of the other partners, a man named Marcus Lee, shifted uncomfortably. "It won't happen again." She turned back to the room. It shouldn't have happened at all. The tension thickened, but Camille didn't press further. She simply pulled up the development plan on her tablet, gesturing for the projector to be turned on. "For now, let's return to the work we came here to do," she said, shifting the focus. An hour passed. Contracts were reviewed, numbers were confirmed, and legal adjustments were discussed. Camille conducted herself with firm authority, weaving through the business jargon with confidence that left no room for doubt. By the end of the meeting, everyone in the room saw her not just as a client, but as a force. As she rose to leave, Langford accompanied her back to the elevator. He hesitated before speaking. "Camille, I want to sincerely thank you for the patience and composure you showed today. You handled that with more dignity than most would." She pressed the elevator button, then turned to him. "I've had practice." Langford looked genuinely pained. "What happened downstairs? It's already being addressed." Camille didn't ask for details. She didn't need promises or apologies. The truth had revealed itself without her having to raise her voice. "I hope so," she said quietly, "because I won't be the last person who doesn't walk through that door dressed like your average millionaire." The elevator chimed. She stepped inside, hands still steady, shoulders upright. Langford remained standing, watching the doors, close with a grim expression. Back in the lobby, Trevor sat at his desk, avoiding eye contact. Haley tapped nervously at her phone, pretending to be busy. Neither of them spoke as Camille walked out. The sun was warmer now, gleaming off the dealerships, windows casting long shadows across the marble floor. She paused just outside the doors, breathing in the spring air, then pulled her hoodie slightly tighter as she headed to the sleek black car waiting at the curb. The driver stepped out quickly and opened the door for her. Inside, her assistant handed her a folder. "Ready for your next meeting?" Camille nodded, glancing once more at the building behind her. "Very." The car pulled away from the curb as Monarch Realty's glass tower disappeared in the rearview mirror, leaving behind more than just a business deal. It left a lesson some would never forget. By mid-afternoon, Camille sat inside a sunlit corner, office overlooking a bustling stretch of downtown. The room was tastefully minimalist, framed architectural sketches, warm lighting, and a live green wall behind her desk. Across from her, Naomi Foster, her legal counsel, clicked through a digital folder of real estate contracts on her laptop. "The agreement's clean," Naomi said, eyes scanning rapidly. "They've updated the clause regarding community engagement and included your revised terms for equity sharing with local business owners." Camille gave a subtle nod. "Good. Let's have the first batch of funds transferred by Friday." "I want construction starting next month." Naomi paused, then looked up. "You sure you still want to work with Monarch after what happened?" Camille leaned back slightly, folding her arms. "I don't partner with ignorance. I partner with opportunity. They need me more than I need them, and now they know it." Naomi smiled knowingly. "Fair." A soft chime interrupted them. Camille's assistant, Jason, opened the door halfway. "There's a call for you from Westland Motors. They're asking for a last-minute meeting about your fleet order." She raised an eyebrow. "Didn't we finalize that a week ago?" Jason nodded. "Apparently, the manager wants to clarify a few details in person." His tone was urgent. Camille exhaled, rising from her chair. "Have the car ready." 40 minutes later, she stepped onto the polished floor of Westland Motors, a high-end dealership where luxury vehicles shimmered under showroom lights like trophies. A row of salespeople stood chatting beside a sleek black SUV, laughter echoing lightly until her presence shifted the mood. A man in a fitted gray suit approached, his expression tight. "We're not open to solicitors," he said quickly, without a greeting. Camille stared at him. "I'm not selling anything." He looked her up and down. "Then are you picking someone up?" "No," she replied calmly. "I was told the manager wanted to see me." The man, whose name tag read Colin, narrowed his eyes. "Do you have an appointment?" Camille remained silent for a second, then handed over her card. His face changed the moment he read the name. He coughed. "Miss Turner, apologies. I didn't realize. Mr. Davis will see you right away." Camille followed him past the glimmering rows of vehicles to an office lined with photos of ribbon cuttings and signed celebrity headshots. Davis, the dealership manager, rose the moment she entered, wiping his palms on his trousers. "Thank you for coming," he began, voice rehearsed. "Please, sit." Camille didn't sit. "You said there was an issue with my order?" Davis motioned to the tablet on his desk. "Well, not an issue exactly. More of a delay. One of the limited models is back-ordered, and we may not meet your delivery date." Camille gave him a measured look. "That's not what your message implied." Davis shifted in his seat. "I'll be transparent. There was some confusion internally. Your order raised questions, and my team felt it necessary to confirm its validity before final processing." Camille tilted her head. "You mean someone flagged it because they didn't believe I could afford a fleet of electric SUVs?" Davis gave a tight smile. No, just due diligence." She stepped closer, her voice quiet but unwavering. "Due diligence usually comes with a phone call, not condescension at the door." He looked down, clearing his throat. "We've spoken to the staff involved. It was a misunderstanding." Camille's tone didn't change. "That seems to be happening a lot lately." Davis stood, trying to regain footing. "We're more than willing to offer compensation, discounts, upgraded packages, whatever it takes to move forward." Camille studied him, then the framed A award on his shelf for excellence in client experience. Her silence felt heavier than any lecture. "I don't need discounts," she said. "What I need is for people like you to stop assuming that people like me Walk in here lost. He opened his mouth, then closed it. No defense left to offer. I'm canceling the order, she added. We'll source from another provider. Davis's eyes widened. Ms. Turner, please reconsider. That's nearly a $500,000 deal. She turned toward the door. And yet, your staff couldn't even manage a proper greeting. Outside, Jason waited by the car, holding open the door. She slid in, the dealership's windows reflecting her quiet exit. Jason glanced at her through the rear-view mirror as he started the engine. Second place today that's learning the hard way. Camille didn't respond right away. Her gaze rested on the skyline again. Respect should be given without a resume, she said softly. But if I have to teach them one by one, so be it. As the car merged into traffic, the city buzzed around her, blind to the quiet revolution that had just passed through its polished halls and tinted glass. The next morning, the city woke up to a headline splashed across every major business publication. Westland Motors loses multi-million-dollar deal over discriminatory conduct. Beneath the bold text was a high-resolution image of Camille Turner exiting the dealership, her expression unreadable, her posture firm. The story spread like wildfire, carried by hashtags, reposts, and furious commentary from every corner of the internet. At the Westland headquarters, chaos reigned. Phones rang off the hook. Public relations managers scrambled to assemble statements, but nothing slowed. The blowback. Shareholders demanded accountability. The company's CEO, Alan Keating, paced a conference room like a lion in a cage, fury simmering just beneath the surface. This isn't just about one order, he barked at the gathered executives. It's about image, reputation, trust. This woman is one of the most powerful names in urban development. You insulted her. Now we're the ones bleeding. No one dared speak. She owns a media channel, a philanthropic foundation, and sits on 3 government advisory boards. And someone at our dealership assumed she was lost? Murmurs filled the room. Keating didn't care for explanations. His next move was swift and brutal. Davis, the dealership manager, was terminated within the hour. Colin, the sales rep, who turned Camille away, was escorted out by security before lunch. Meanwhile, Camille sat calmly in her office, sipping from a glass of ginger tea. Her phone buzzed repeatedly, a stream of texts and emails. Most were apologies. Some were offers. A few, like always, were thinly veiled attempts to smooth things over with shallow flattery. She ignored most of them. Her team moved like a well-oiled machine. Naomi coordinated statements to be released from Camille's foundation. Jason screened every call, allowing only a few through. Camille's inbox remained full, but her mind was elsewhere, focused on what came next. Later that day, she held a small press conference from the rooftop of one of her downtown buildings. Behind her, a large printed banner read, "Equity is not a luxury." A handful of trusted journalists gathered, cameras and microphones aimed, waiting for a dramatic soundbite. Camille didn't give them one. She spoke clearly, without anger or fanfare. Yesterday, I walked into a place prepared to invest in clean transportation for my community outreach program. I left reminded that skin color still speaks louder than business cards in some rooms. But let me be clear. I'm not here to shame individuals. I'm here to highlight patterns that cost companies not just money, but credibility. She paused briefly, letting the silence speak volumes. I've redirected our entire fleet contract to a minority-owned dealership in Brooklyn, one where respect doesn't depend on appearance. That's where our dollars go now. The applause was immediate, but not loud. It carried weight. The live stream went viral within minutes. Across the city, across the country, conversations shifted. Camille wasn't just a name anymore. She was a symbol, a quiet force proving that influence isn't measured in decibels, but in decisions. Back at Westland, Keating watched the broadcast in silence. His PR head stood nearby, a folder of drafted apologies in hand. "We could request a meeting with her," the advisor offered hesitantly. "Maybe propose a corporate partnership. Donate vehicles to her foundation." Keating didn't look away from the screen. "We don't need to partner with her. We need to rebuild everything we failed to protect." He closed the laptop. Elsewhere, Camille visited the Brooklyn dealership she had mentioned earlier. The owner, Marcus Reed, greeted her at the entrance. A second-generation entrepreneur, he had spent years building his business from the ground up, battling the same biases Camille faced, but from a different vantage point. "You really meant it, huh?" he asked, smiling as she walked through the glass doors. "I always do," Camille replied, shaking his hand. They walked the floor together, examining vehicles, discussing rollout plans. The staff treated her with familiarity, not because of her name, but because they had always treated their customers with dignity. "I've got 30 electric SUVs lined up," Marcus said proudly. "They're yours whenever you're ready." Camille nodded. "Good. Let's show the city what inclusive business looks like." That night, Camille returned home, her penthouse glowing softly under the dimmed city lights. She stood by the IGTD floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the skyline shimmer. It wasn't about revenge. It never had been. It was about reshaping expectations. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from her father. "Proud of you. Mom would be too." She closed her eyes briefly, letting the words settle into her chest. Memories flooded back, of watching her parents work double shifts, of hand-me-down uniforms, of being told she'd never be more than what they saw. But she had become more, and now she was making sure others could too. Across town, a college student wrote a blog post inspired by her story. In Chicago, a local mechanic shared her video with a caption that read, "This woman gives me hope." In Los Angeles, a high school teacher printed out her speech and pinned it to a classroom wall under the title, "Modern Leaders." Camille never asked for attention. She asked for fairness. And in that pursuit, she had ignited something larger than she'd planned, a movement, quiet but persistent. She turned from the window, letting the curtain fall. Tomorrow would bring more decisions, more eyes watching, more stories trying to define her. But tonight, she was just Camille, a woman who walked into a dealership and walked out having changed the rules. And the city, whether ready or not, had started to take notice.